one thing that's going to get you very far in your digital business is if you are delusional, completely and utterly delusional. Stay delusional. I know it's not easy, but I tell you what, I think it's easier to be delusional and win than to be realistic and just keep losing. You know, too often I hear people saying things like, oh, it's not realistic. And you say, that's the reason why you really need to be careful about who you tell your goals and stuff to. It's better to just keep it to yourself. You know, because you can tell someone, even your like really close friend or family member, you can be like, yeah, I want to, you know, my goal is to make $20,000 a month. And they just kind of laugh. Because they're just not in that headspace themselves. They just laugh. That's why it's really important to build community, or to connect with community, or to really make an effort to build a tribe or connect with a tribe. People that understand you, people that are on the same wavelength, people that are either ahead of you or on the same level. You know, I'm preferring to meet people that are ahead of me over being on the same level, because when you spend too much time with people that are on the same level, but for some reason they're not progressing, and so they kind of, you know, it's almost like they want to stay there, they're quite comfortable staying there, you'll find that that energy ends up rubbing off on you. But if you're hanging around with people that are way ahead of you and they are, you know, gunning for more, it pushes you, it motivates you. I remember one time I went to, I don't even know if this is going to be a full-on vlog, I'm not sure, it might just be a chit-chat video, but I went to stay with a friend in the UK. That's when I was living in Ghana, and then I went to the UK for about 4 months. I stayed with a friend for about 2 months before I went back to my parents' house. And she was someone she was working in like Tesco's, you know, Tesco's supermarket. It's like a grocery store. And even though she was working there, and at that time I would say I was a bit ahead of her, I really was inspired when I stayed there, because she was on it. She was on building an online business. She was doing crypto at the time. She was doing so many things outside of just Tesco. And she used to do her affirmations every morning. What's quite funny is that, you know, I've always been into meditation and affirmations and all of that, but I wasn't doing it at the time. You know, I was making decent money from freelancing and from my blogs and all of that, but I wasn't gunning for more. I was almost satisfied with what I had. You know, I was earning about sort of 10k a month, and I was like, yeah, this is all, you know, this is all there is. I don't need to push for anything more. I can just keep going the way I am and not achieve anything else, sort of thing. But she encouraged me to meditate, to do my affirmations, and even though she could see that I was ahead of her in terms of where I was at earnings wise, and the fact that I'd already built my digital business and all of that, she was still a motivation to me. She motivated me every day to keep pushing and to elevate myself higher than just 10k a month. So it's really important who you hang around with. When they say your network is your net worth, they ain't even playing. They're not joking. Hang around with broke people and people that aren't even trying to elevate. The thing is, it's not so much about broke. That word, I kind of don't like it. But you hang around with, because broke doesn't necessarily just mean, oh, you got no money. It means your mindset as well. You can hang around with people that don't have any plans for elevation at all. But you could hang around with someone who is doing well, but they've got no plans for growth. And then you can hang around with someone who is not really doing that well, but they're going hard every day. And the hunger inspires you to keep going. You know. So at the moment, I'm doing this Be Delusional, day 4 of Be Delusional. Be Delusional for me is about building my business back up to 50k a month and more. Because I've done 50k months multiple times over the years. I even got to a point one time I did about an 80k month. You know, I've made over $2 million in the past 3 years. And that's just not just all digital products, to be honest with you. That's been from services as well, so digital products and services. So it hasn't just been ebooks and courses and stuff like that. It's been like services as well, made over $2 million. But I want more. For me, it's not enough. Some people are quite content with sort of accepting what they have, but for me, I'm not. I want more. It's not just about money, it's also about impact. So I'm on day 4 of the Be Delusional challenge, and my message to you today, for anyone who is doing Be Delusional, is keep your mouth shut. And what I mean by that is, yeah, you're going to be documenting it online, fair enough. But I'm talking about telling your friends and family directly. If they find your content, cool. But if they don't find your content, don't tell them. I would recommend you don't even tell your really close friends. Just keep your mouth shut. Sometimes what I do is I tell people I'm doing a challenge, but I don't tell them what it is. Just keep your mouth shut. Keep your mouth shut. Put your head down. Shut out the noise and grind. Secondly, if you don't already have noise cancelling earphones, buy some. Buy some. Noise cancelling earphones are the thing that is going to help you to shut out the noise, literally and figuratively, to shut out the noise. Because a lot of the time you'll find that people just talk and talk and talk and talk. And I don't mean to you specifically, but their negative chatter about their own lives can just derail you, I'm going to just give a quick example of that. I'm helping someone at the moment. That person is someone who I just decided to help. I ran into them out of the blue one day, and I decided that, it would be nice to help this person. So I'm helping this person at the moment, and this person is a very negative person. Sadly, they're very negative and very sort of, they have this sort of scarcity mindset, and it's very, very difficult to deal with someone like this, because I'll give a challenge and there will always be a reason why they can't do certain things, because they talk about their past, or I wasn't raised in a certain environment, you were, blah blah blah. That's why it's really important when it comes to relationships. I know this is I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but when it comes to relationships, whether it be friendships or romantic, you want to kind of hang around with and be in relationships with people that are higher than you or on the same level. When you're with someone who is below, in terms of social status, it sounds wrong, but it is what it is. That person is going to constantly feel this kind of feeling of resentment towards you, because they're going to feel like, well, the reason why you're where you are right now is because you came from a certain background. You were raised in a different environment to me, and that's the reason why. I've heard this multiple times from people that I've been in relationships with that were slightly below me in social status, and seriously, so it's a mistake. It's a big mistake. So if you can take anything from this video, keep your mouth shut, build community. Even if you can't build community in real life, build community online, or connect with people online that are doing the same thing as you. 3, be really, really careful who you hang around with. And if you can, connect with people that are higher than you or on the same level and heading to be higher than you. Do not gobble with turkeys. And I know it sounds wrong, it sounds like you're kind of like looking down on people, whatever it is. But I tell you what, you're gonna regret it if you get too close to people that are really struggling while you're elevating. The thing is, you might be struggling as well, but because you're elevating at the same time, that's where the difference lies. But if you're hanging around with people that are struggling and all they do is moan, they don't have a game plan to get out of the situation they're in. Anyway, I went to go and give my stuff to the laundry. It's the first time I've ever done that. Before, I just normally wash my own clothes. But I've got these dresses, this a buyer, you know, the modest clothing, and I wanted to have them washed and ironed and all of that. And I tell you what, they were like, 100 dirham. 100 dirham is like £20, and I'm like, I'm standing there thinking 100 dirham to wash clothes. But then I actually came to think about it, and I was like, £20 for all of that. It's actually quite good. And I was thinking that when you go to, and the interesting thing as well, this is the reason why I'm mentioning about the price, is that scarcity mindset thing sometimes starts to creep back in. You know, a lot of us were raised with a scarcity mindset by no fault of our parents that we were raised like that, but a lot of us were raised like that, and so we're always checking prices and trying to scrimp and save. And I've noticed that when I don't check prices, I mean, obviously you've got to be careful. I mean, you could buy a perfume, they tell you it's 500,000 dirham or something like that, but obviously that's not really going to happen. It happened to me one time though, when I went to buy a tripod, and when I was passing a shop, they were promoting this honey, and so I've gone in and I bought the honey. I bought a bunch of things, and when it came to the price, they were like 1,500, and I was like, that's about £300, and I'm like, what? Like, I didn't expect it to be that price. And it just, you know, alarm bells were ringing in my mind. I was like, I wanted to tell them to put the stuff back, but I didn't. I ended up just paying. And I remember that week I got a massive sale of $7,000, you know, covered the cost of that £300, like, you know. So, yeah, so, you know, when you're developing an abundance mindset, cultivating an abundance mindset, or just stepping into that mindset of, you know, abundance, you know, you really do need to check yourself when it comes to like the pricing of things and stuff like that, and not be so rigid about it. You know, I was like 102 dirham for washing clothes, but then when I thought about it, I was like, it's only £20. Okay, whatever. And then he was like, yeah, come back and pay tomorrow. So I was like, cool. You know, it's interesting because I found that for me, there are certain things that I'm quite happy to pay for, and I know that I need quality for that particular thing, but then there's some things I'm like, I could just do that myself. Do you know what I mean? But when it comes to this, like these dresses, having them washed and stuff, I'll rather just outsource it, because I'm going to have to steam them myself and all that kind of stuff. And to be honest, I don't really want to do that. I'd rather be working. I'd rather be affirming and working or something like that than washing clothes. So, yeah. I think I'm going to leave this video here. I'm going to make this one video, and then I'm going to probably do a vlog. I'll probably vlog my work sessions, or I might just go and do a live. I might just jump into a live right now, actually. I was thinking about going to grab a matcha, but I don't know if I can be bothered. It's quite hot. I might do that in the evening.